So today Suntaray and I are just working half a day because we've got a funeral come bone ceremony this afternoon, and then in the evening we've got to go to Nangrong for a dental appointment. So, excuse me. So what I've been doing today is fixing up a solar powered light for inside the house when there's a power cut. So you can see the panel there. I've mounted it on the roof using existing roof screws, and I need to get up there and adjust that. I'll put a little bit of plastic on the end of the roof there to protect the wire from rubbing away, and that's got moved while I've been fixing the wire in the house. So I need to just get up there and adjust that. A load of internet cable has been pulled through the house and out, and disconnected from that mains in joint up there, which was wrapped around. The light itself is being mounted up there. This is basically going to serve as an emergency light for when the power goes off, because that will always be charging, and so there's a remote control that operates it, so it doesn't have to be on when it gets dark, but it can be switched on if they want to, if they need to. So that's the idea of that. Suntaray, I think, has been finishing off the posts in here. Not quite finishing. She's basically got that one to finish and that one over there to finish. And this one needs smoothing off. So she's got a bit of work left yet. And she's been cutting out that crack you can see there under the window, the corner of the window. She's disappeared off now, I think, to find a solution to a problem that she acknowledged but never told me about, which I pointed out to her when we started refurbing this house, and that is the way the main wires are brought into the house. So she used to have them coming from the very tall concrete posts out here in the main street, as it were, onto which the meters have been mounted. So this is it's leaning over quite a bit, but it's solid. So this is the post where the main wires come in, and hers goes across there, and she had it mounted on a long piece of wood, which then rotted, and so she found this piece of iron that was not being used and basically attached the mains wire to that. So that's obviously unacceptable, because if those wires should ever move in a storm and gradually chafe and become exposed from their insulation, basically that whole post is going to become live, and it may not discharge into the earth and cause a short circuit. It may just stay live until someone touches it. So that was the first thing I pointed out to her, which she did acknowledge, but I'm not sure she's going to do very much about that. Worse still is the wooden post that she had here rotted, so she found a couple of old pieces of 4x4 steel that we weren't using from the build, and got them welded together and created a post out of that. Well, this is even worse really, because it's closer to the house, and not only that, but the wires are mounted the wrong way. So they've been mounted on the right side of the post as you're looking at it, and then they bend left, which means that they are basically almost touching the post from the get-go, and any bit of wind or storm that moves that whole thing around is going to definitely chafe those wires against the metal post, and then we're going to have a live metal post right next to the house, a post that is actually basically exactly where people walk and ride their motorbikes and come into the house. So that's a huge safety issue for me. So she did acknowledge straight away that the way the wires were run was on the wrong side. They should be on the left side, so that basically they're constantly pulled away from the post because of the attachment to the house over there. So the natural stress in the wire is to be pulled away from the post instead of at the moment they're naturally being pulled towards the post. So I said, no, you've really got to replace that. You've either got to get a wooden post or you've got to get a great big concrete post and replace that. And she's come up with various suggestions since then, which is to just slide a great big pipe over that post, a really thick blue plastic pipe, and then attach the fixings for the wires to that, so that if there's any leakage it's not going to go through the plastic. Now that's fine if she can find a big enough pipe, and she can obviously it'll have to be cut up so it can fit over there into sections, but if it's jointed then there's really no problem with that in my view, as long as it's nice thick plastic and can take the strain of having that wire attached to it. Another thing she suggested was putting a plastic pipe over the concrete post that's next to it that the wall has now been built against, and effectively doing away with that metal post completely. And then she had the idea of just covering the top with a bit of plastic piping and attaching everything to that, which, if it was done firm, because of course the piping is round, things would have to be attached with actual fixings, because at the moment it's all just tied on with bits of odd wire really, although the top of that bracket is resting on the top of the post, so it's metal on metal, and if it was a plastic top to that it would have to be drilled and fixed, because the plastic would move round, basically it would turn round on itself. So that wouldn't be ideal, and it would also probably mean we've then got a metal fixing going through a metal bracket into metal, into which the electricity can leak. So I've said, no, you can't really do that. So she's disappeared off to try and find a solution to this, I hope, because we've got an electrician coming this afternoon to actually fit the new consumer unit, because it involves either working with a mains live wire, or switching the mains off at that post down there, which so if the seal's broken the householder will get into trouble. So I said, well, electrician's got to come and do that, and whilst he's here he's going to fix a couple of lights for us as well, and I think she's going to get him to do this, fixing this issue here, if she can find a solution post wise. Anyway, that's what's going on now. I've got to fix another security light, or whatever you like to call them. Let me show you. We've got one of these at the new house now, and it's actually very good. It's bright enough for us to see when we come home, if we don't have headlights, and it's a good security feature, but it's not tremendously bright that it's disturbing the neighbours or anything. 300 watts sounds like a lot, but with LED and the way it's spread out, it's not a huge amount of light. But they're good units actually. They seem to be very well made. They are definitely waterproof. They seem to have very good fixings, and they are easy to fix in. They've got a nice long lead from each unit as well, probably about, I don't know how many meters the wire is. I can't read tie, so I can't tell you, but it's probably about 5 or 6 meters. Anyway, I've got another one to put up. She wants another one up there somewhere, and then we'll put the solar panel probably on this corner here, using the existing screws again from the roof. So that shouldn't take me too long. It's fairly straightforward. It's just awkward when you can take the roof screw out and then you can't get it back into its original hole. That took us ages to sort out up there on the big ladder, which wasn't very pleasant. Right, I'm going to crack on with that, and then in early afternoon we're going to be packing up, because we've got to go to this funeral. Well, this is what's come back. That is a big piece of pipe. That's going to go over, I think that'll go over the concrete post and give a little bit of extra height for the wire, and then it can rest on here and we can fix it to the post. So I think that's the intention. I just hope she's got a long enough bit, because there's no way that can go over the metal bit, I don't think, unless we put a couple of bolts in at the bottom to hold it, stop it from falling down. But anyway, the electricians are here now. Let me just show you what I've been doing to start with. I've just been putting this solar panel on the edge of this roof here. So these are the existing roof bolts. I was very lucky actually, because the electrician immediately produced a power tool to get these undone and do them up again. So he knew exactly what I was trying to do, literally within a minute of him arriving, which is brilliant. So that was nice and easy. And then what I've done is I've taped the wire here to the frame, and the reason for that is because I don't want at any time this flapping around in the wind and stressing the joint up there in that black box. So the idea of this is it's going to keep it without any tension on it, and that will help to make it last longer, I believe. And then I've got to take this wire over there somewhere. I haven't worked it out quite yet what the route will be. I have to go and get some cable ties for all these wires that I'm dangling in different places. So we've got the electrician's kit all laid out here, and he's cracking on with putting a new light up on that side of the room. We only had one light before. I think it was more central than that. It might have even been on the post, but it wasn't very adequate for the space. Yeah, and they know what they've been told. I've told them what they're doing with the fuse box consumer unit, and they've already got that open to see what's wrong with that. So one of the other jobs that we needed doing is an earth fixing to the shower, although I believe that the new consumer unit will cover that as well, because an RCBO works on a difference between what's going out in live feed and what's coming back in neutral. So if there's a difference, it shuts off. And so if there was an earth leakage of any sort, a short circuit and electrocution, then that would effectively cut everything off straight away. But nevertheless, it's just as well to have a proper earth plumbed in, as it were, for the shower. So that's what this guy's doing now. He's running an earth lead. Typically it's not protected by anything other than its own insulation. Obviously in Western countries that would have to be in conduit or something, to protect it from rodents eating it and the sunlight and just general deterioration with weather. So they don't really bother with that sort of thing very much here. They do if it's a complete new rewire or a new house. They put everything in conduit in the roof spaces and in walls if you're having your wires buried in walls. But when they start doing additions like this, and like the light in the other room, there's no conduit involved there. It's just the simplest thing they can do. So he's going to drive a stake in somewhere. A stake being the earth rod. I don't know where, probably just about behind where that concrete is he's standing on, which again is not to European regulations, because I think you're supposed to go 3 metres away from a house and you're supposed to go down far enough to keep the rod wet at the bottom so it conducts electricity. But that area will certainly get damp when it's raining. It will stay damp in the monsoon season. So again, I acknowledge the shortcomings of some of the aspects of the job, but I'm not really concerned. this is Thailand, things are done differently, and I think, to be honest, it's going to be safe enough. Yeah, seeing as I was standing here, he was just telling me where he was going to put it, which was actually underneath that roof there, which I said, no, can you move it round to the other side of the poo hole, because that way it'll have more of a chance of staying damp. I'll see if he's got any conduit to put in on the ground just to protect it from anything that goes on there, like people clearing and digging and things. Not very likely, but bare wire in earth is just going to deteriorate really quickly, isn't it? So, well, this is the earthing rod, so that's a really good length. If you can get all that into the ground, I hope you can. That's 2 meters. I've just stood it up against myself, so that's, if that can go in all right, then that will help matters, irrespective of the exact positioning of the rod. So they're going to put the rod in now, and they've got a power tool to do that. Must be a hammering tool, I guess. Much better than an ordinary hammer, I'm sure, because it won't bend the end. Come to a stop now. Don't know. No. I think he. Just a minute. Oh, that's going in really well, nicely now. Resorted to a hammer in the end. But that's stopped again. It keeps bouncing up. You might have to try somewhere else. Okay, well, there's a compromise there. There's obviously some sort of giant rock or something just underneath there. May have been better for them to just move it backwards a foot or to the side a foot, but they've gone in diagonally, so obviously they haven't got the full 2 meters depth, but not going to be far off anyway. It is what it is. Yeah, this is interesting because that pipe that Suntory bought is only 5 inches, and the diagonal's 5 5/8. So, which I did tell her before she went, but she said, well, they didn't have 6 inches, so I bought a 5 inch. So, of course, it doesn't actually fit over that concrete post. So what we're going to do, or what she's going to do, is her idea is to cut a slit in the pipe. I've suggested it needs to be about 3 centimetres, so that the pipe will go over this post and the corner of the post will stick out. So if there's a 3 centimetre gap, then the pipe will sort of go around and go down like my fingers are going down there in theory, and then it'll only be cut up to where the concrete post finishes, so it will be solid all the way up then to the top. And she's got another piece of pipe in her motorbike because they had to cut it so she could carry it on the motorbike, and in the event that that first section isn't really tall enough, that the electricians aren't very comfortable with having it a little bit lower than it is at the moment, or it was at the moment because they've just connected it all now, then we can stick another bit of pipe in the end, glue it in, and it will go bigger, basically go higher. So we've got some flexibility there. Now it will work, I'm sure, because everything is always made to work here. So the old fuse box is out, which I'm going to fit into the garage at the new house, and the guy's just sorting out all the bits and pieces for the new box. He's had to cut a bigger slit in it. To grab all the bits to this one. Something missing there, isn't there? Something not quite right there. I know what it is. These should be bent over, shouldn't they, like that? That's how it should be, something like that. There you go, got that the right way up now. Yes, that's it. Now the holes line up. Okay, so that's that rescued. Give that a bit of a clean up before I put it in our garage. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be a more protective box, being an RCBO.